What's going on, guys? Bladezilla here, and today we are taking a look at one of the more sought after collaboration pieces that's kind of come through the CKF system in a little while here. This is the Custom Knife Factory Ratax, and an absolute beauty. A little different, actually, I would say, than I thought was coming on the pre-order. And we'll talk about that based on the blade, but otherwise, we've got an absolute gorgeous integral to take a look at, talk about, and kind of review together as we go through a gorgeous new knife day on the channel. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a cup of coffee, cold wine or cold beer, wine, Coke, whatever you're kind of into, and you know, as long as it's appropriate, of course. And we got a beauty on the horizon today. As a reminder, guys, check out the site. That is bladezilla.ca, where a lot of the knives featured on this YouTube channel are available for sale in Canada, where we just grabbed actually a nice little CKF restock. So I've got some of these gorgeous, gorgeous Evo 1.1s, full Zerk, as well as some Stonewash and a bunch of other ones that kind of came along with it, some Damasteel with DLC and all kinds of cool configurations. Anyway, lots of good stuff on bladezilla.ca. Machine-wise, Shirogorov, CKF, TRM, Anzo of Denmark, Rockstead, Chavez, Protec. There's so many good knives, and I feel like there's just not enough time. But that's okay. We got time for this one today, the Ratax. I did want to show you actually the COA that comes with these. Just because there are some, it kind of tells what other configurations were going to be coming. So I will cover, well, it doesn't really matter, but CKF Ratax, there we go. Anthony Marfione and Alexei Konigan, M398, which would be this variant here, and a Damasteel. I have yet to see the Ratax in the Damasteel, but I assume something's coming. Tie and Zerkatai, so you would kind of think maybe there's a Dama version with the tie Zerkatai, or maybe there's a full dress. I don't know. Being an integral, I just assume it's going to be tie. And then the hashtag. So there you go. Pretty cool. And then one thing that, you know, some new CKF customers don't always realize, a lot of these knives do come with a little kit of hardware as well. Kind of built in because they do runs of these and then they're kind of done for a while. So it's cool to see that. It looks like, is that a clip in there? It could be a clip of some kind, or maybe a tool. It's probably a tool. I don't know. I actually don't even know if this guy is on bearings or if this guy is on washers, but I will just quickly unroll this to take a little sneak peek and see what's hiding inside here. Do we have bearings? Oh, we have multi-row bearings. Actually, well, I'm going to show it on the camera. That's what comes with this guy. If it wants to focus, as I'm dropping things everywhere. So a little bit of everything. We've got some multi-row bearings. We've got some washers, some hardware, and it looks like some kind of clip or something related there. Anyway, CKF has always knocked it out of the park with extras, and I love that kind of stuff. Just because it makes you, when you get a new purchase, you just kind of, you know, feel like you're kind of covered off. Versus, you know, my favorite brand, as I kind of always said on the channel, Shirogorov. Those kits are 80 bucks, right? You need new bearings, you need a hardware piece. It's 80 bucks US. So it's nice that this kind of stuff certainly comes with that. Okay, let's back it up, do measurements, and then we'll talk about what it is and kind of what I was expecting it to be, and then we'll probably conclude with how awesome it is. I'm gonna be honest, I think it's awesome. 8 5/8 to the end of that glass breaker. By the way, it has a glass breaker. It probably is removable. That's probably the tool that comes inside there, now that I think about it. So 8 5/8, or probably 8 1/2 if it's just to the end of the handle. Blade length is fairly substantial. I'd say 3 1/2 sharp, 3 5/8 to the center of the choil. And we have a handle on here that is about 4 5/8, 4 3/4, depending on if you include the glass breaker or not. In terms of weight on this guy, well, we do have the handy dandy gram scale with, let's grab a cloth here and we'll get a weight on this. It feels fairly hefty. It feels kind of in that 4 1/2 ounce, maybe even 5 ounce range. It wouldn't floor me. But let's guess. I'm going to lock in 4 1/2. 4 1/2. Ah, not even close. Well, at least I'm not lying to you guys. 5.9 ounces, so a lot heftier than my 4.5 ounce guess. But maybe that's a good thing, because if you think about it, I assume it's lighter than it is. Ergonomically, it's a lot thinner than I was expecting as well. I should probably tell you, right? It's an integral. Integral meaning it's a one-piece titanium handle, which is why a full-dressed variant of this would probably be very expensive to screw up. And that's why earlier I said, if there's a Damasteel blade, it's probably going to come in a titanium handle, unless these guys are really rolling the dice, in which case, there's probably not going to be too many of that configuration. Nice, gorgeous drop point with some cutouts in there. It looks like the inside of that cutout as well has a different finish. It looks to be kind of stone washed or blasted, kind of like the rest of the blade. Very nice. It does have the satin flats on there as well. Looks good. What I was referencing at the start of this video is this is not the blade that in the pre-order, I think we ordered this one 8 months ago, 9 months ago, maybe even 10 months ago. I could have sworn it had a compound grind on it that looked like a classic Alexi Connigan kind of just funkified grind. I'll have to do some digging. If I find it, I'll overlay it here, but if I don't, I thought it had like a big cut here and then like something on the nose, on the front end of this, that was like two big compound grinds. Maybe I'm just thinking crazy talk, or maybe it's a different knife, but I thought the Ratax was the knife that had that on there. In any case, with the grind that came with the knife, it's fantastic, okay? I'm not complaining whatsoever. I think it looks marvelous. And even one little detail is it's got a mirror kind of nose on top here that was absolutely unexpected and really pops out of that handle really nicely. So if you can hopefully see that, if the camera doesn't freak too much out, mirror stuff always does, but you can kind of see there is a mirror on top here. That is just really, really well done. And CKF, they've been just knocking it out of the park this last year, year and a half, even 2 years, with some really nice batches, configurations, and some collaborations. And it's just one of those brands. They just really give you a big value punch for your dollar. So we have the Zirca tie as well up on the inlays here on the top. Looks really good. To give you an idea on the actual profile, they don't stick out like a ton, but they do stick out a little bit, probably just to raise the front end there. I'm not sure how they get the bearings inside the integral handle, but I'm assuming those bolsters would probably come off in any event to kind of give you some things under there that I don't know about. Okay, the clip as well, nicely machined. We've got that Anthony Marfione dagger on there, which is always good. For some reason, whenever I see that, I just think of Sakoshas, I think of SOCOM Elites. Like that's just what I have in my head. It's a gorgeous looking little dagger, nicely milled in there, no mistakes. Looks great. The clip appears, this is what's gonna make a lot of my lefty friends happy. I think you can rotate that clip on and flip it around, much like on the SOCOM with the glass breaker. You know, you take this off with that tool that I was showing earlier, showing or fudging. You know, it must wrap around this like a wrench, unscrew that, and I believe, I don't know, but I believe you should be able to flip that clip around on either side. I don't know why you couldn't. It looks like that's what it's intended to do. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that'd be pretty cool if you're a lefty. Otherwise, let's take a look on the inside of this. We've got a lock bar insert hiding back there, nicely hiding back there, which is you know, externally attached, right? Normally that would be on a lock bar internal, right? Because it'd be on one side, you want to hide the hardware, etc. So big, thick, juicy, looks like T15s on there. Nice, nice stuff. But it is externally attached, and a very big lock bar as well. It's wider than the entire blade, which is kind of uncommon, but nice enough, nicely done. Very beefy. The lock bar doesn't have the bevel that I was kind of hoping for right here. I always like a nice soft landing spot there, but it is raised in a nice kind of trapezoidal kind of way. Looks good, feels good. Don't really have a whole lot of issues there, but it is raised and quite comfortable, I will say. Although it looks, I get a lot of custom vibes from that kind of, you know, just more rough finish, right? Because it's just, normally that would be beveled, but looks terrific. Looks really, really good. We do have these little jimping lines back here as well for the reverse grip. So yeah, no issues. On the inside, nice and smooth. Remember, being an integral, I often say this, there's very few exceptions to this rule. You're not going to basically get any material outside of this. So when we're talking, oh yeah, you want to skeletonize it, and maybe this is why in my head I was thinking it was 4.5 ounces based on the size. Well, maybe there's half an ounce that you could have pulled out of this handle if you did some milling work on the inside. Well, because it's an integral, guess what? You're not getting anything out of there. So yeah, super, super solid in hand, and that's what makes these so gorgeous. The exception to those rules would be, you know, some angling, and there's ways to do little tiny bits of work inside there, like how Shiro put on their Loxa. They engraved the serial number kind of at an angle. I'll show that knife to kind of reference it, but beyond that, you're not doing much in there. And if you are, I don't know how you do it, which is kind of cool. On the top here, we've got the 4 dots. That's pretty sick. And what do we have for jimping in hand? Ooh, very comfy. Very, very Alexei Konigan. He's another one of those makers. By the way, much like Dmitry Sinkovich, actually, he really seems to like things that hide in plain sight. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that, I haven't looked, right? Well, I have, but I can't remember. I'm going to go out and say on a limb here, if I flip this over, this pattern will be hiding in plain sight in a different form on the other side. This is what he does. So I'm going to eat my words if I'm wrong, but I get the feeling I might be, there's something here. So look at the patterning, right? And I flip it over. You're like, yep, same pattern, right? No, it's backwards on the other side, okay? Look, it's not equal. So you get the cutout here, 1 cutout instead of 2, and it's offset to the others. That's the kind of stuff they do. And then this other pattern back here, well, that's where they worked in the lock bar, but they kind of cut it into what would have been the second little hole there. So that's kind of cool. The bend in the lock bar is external, quite minimal as well. Very, very minimal, not too burly. And nothing over the top. I think this is meant to be like a working knife, so it's nice. I also want to look at the angling on that. Are we getting the same angling or is it different? I think we might have symmetrical angling. We do on the top lines here on this side and this side. So they are, well, are they? Or does one go further back? This is exactly, see how we're spending time looking at this stuff? This is what I love about Konigan designs. I really do. This exact kind of stuff, because it's probably got multiple versions of this feature kind of littered throughout that I'm not going to notice on a 20-minute video, but it's just cool, right? Like if you just look at the lock bar, look at that whole area, it's all asymmetric, which is cool. So I guess the bevels themselves are the same on this side. Oh no, they're not. Okay, there's the other cutout there. Wow, just wow. As I was mentioned though, the jimping quite comfortable in hand. There's a second row hiding behind that if you did want to choke up on top of that. Beyond that, you're getting into that mirrored kind of zone as well. Keep that in mind. Looks really, really nice. That's really growing on me actually. You can kind of see how the cutout is really hidden and then it swells out on the tip here. Huh. Didn't think that would really catch me that off guard. Fantastic. What else? We don't have any blade centering lines, obviously, hiding back there because you can't really cut those in. Nicely fit inside the handle as well. Perfectly center, which is kind of what you'd assume for an integral. It happens though they're not. If you put too much tension or too little tension, the blade sometimes will be off center. The first thing I noticed though is how smooth that action is. And the blade's quite heavy. I can tell off the hop that the blade, because of the heavier handle on the integral, they've put a heavier blade in here. Quite tall, right? Just look at it. It's quite a tall blade, but it feels quite thick as well. Very robust. Almost reminds me of like a Peter Rosenti. That's who I was kind of trying to come up with earlier, but it feels like a Rosenti in hand. Very similar. But obviously with the clip and the design, it's a nice little collaboration piece between Marfione and Connigan. They really knock it out. In terms of comparison, and I did want to just see a couple other things that I'm always curious to see some fit and finish things on how they do things in here. So we have a pin up top and then the main pin on the bottom. The jimping from the flipper tab. The flipper tab is obviously very forward of center. Keep that in mind. If we walk our fingers down, it's forward of center, so it will fire right out, which is quite nice. In terms of, we're going to go through the lineup of comparisons. Why not? Why not do a comparison of the normal Shiro kind of stuff? So let's start with the F95 or the Hattie. Same knife. This has a carbon fiber front scale, and we're just showing for size. We can do I'm going to put that one away. Let's do the RJ Martin collaboration piece between Shirogorov and RJ. Remember, a lot of my knives I feature on the channel are Shirogorov in nature, so that's kind of my size comparison knives. The Astrum, much thinner in hand, a little bit longer overall. We will do the Bio, a Sinkovich design knife. Not really a fair comparison on anything, I would say, in this case. It's just a completely different design there. The Stellar. And I really thought the Ratax would be stellar in size. It's much bigger than I was expecting. But like looking at the blade dimensions, they're surprisingly similar, but much burlier on the Ratax. This is a Quantum. So that is a Monkey Edge Frag Quantum with single row bearings. This guy's 2 or 3 years old now, just for reference. The Q95 Sinkovich Touch, which is Shiro's latest, I think this one's a California Custom Knife Show knife, but it's their latest, I guess, kind of collaboration piece other than the RKMP. Which is just a phenomenal knife, and I'll get to that one. I don't know why I would ever skip that. An F95 braces, so much like the F95 or the Hattie in size-wise that I showed earlier, but this particular one has washers on it, and really nice patterned washers. It's a gorgeous knife, but once again, just showing some size comparisons. And this one I always got to open by. I have a little mic down to the left. Fat strip. I think this is the only one that's comparable in width and size and girth. That's what she said in this knife, but it's just a really big handled, funky knife from Shirogorov as well, just because that handle's so big, that blade is so thick, but it's not a long knife. It's just stout. Pretty cool. The RKMP, which is essentially the same size as the strip series in a much more sleek and thin knife handle design. Gorgeous roller bearings. It's the whole shebang on that one. Absolute stunner. A Neon as well. That's a Sprint Run Neon from 2025. Nice and fresh. And then I guess we'll do the Shiro Integral, which is Shiro's first Integral, the Scott Cook Loxa as well. So there you go. And I'm going to show you what I was mentioning earlier about the serial number and how they kind of do some engraving on the inside. Well, if I open this guy up, you can kind of see how they cut a pocket out on both sides of the frame, and then they angle ever so lightly in the serial number. And on this one, I can't remember which one this one is. I'm sure you can see it with the light, but it's angled on the inside. So you have writing on the inside of some shape or form inside an Integral. So from the side, there shouldn't be anything, but there is. And I think that's very, very rare. Another cool thing is it's actually an internally attached pocket clip on this one. And they do that and they hide it back here inside the lanyard hole. So if you take that out, and if my camera wants to focus ever, if you take that out, that's where they attach it. So really clever. I did a video on this knife for about an hour, and highly recommend that. And it's probably the coolest comparable, but it's also a very different price bracket compared to CKF, just overall. But you're getting a ton of value in this Ratax. I'm telling you right now, if this was tabled at, I think they're 700, does that sound right? 700 bucks US, right around there. If it was tabled at 1100, I wouldn't even bat an eye. I think it would still be sold out everywhere. Let's do a large Sebenza. Everyone knows the large Sebenza for size. And finally a small Sebenza. I think that brings us around the board quite nicely for some size comparisons. And I will also finish things off with a Stang Blade Works because they're local to me down the road. And Canadians, there you go. Stang Pyrenees from a few years back. Pretty cool. This one was a lottery knife, I believe, or I can't remember, but really cool. Also on washers, they've changed the design quite a bit since, but really cool. This one has 2 rows of jimping. Did a video on this one as well. I'd love to actually get a maker from Space Monkey. I'd love to get a couple of their knives in the case just to kind of throw them on, get them some shout outs and stuff. Really support the community here. And also funky name, Space Monkey. Their logo's a monkey with an astronaut's helmet on it. How cool is that? They're made literally 20 minutes from here. Okay, that is a good size comparison. I think I'm just going through the case of anything that would be super relevant. I think that's good. We've showed, what, 15 knives. What do I think of this? You know, we started things off talking about how the blade was a little bit different than my expectation. I thought it was a compound grind, and I really am sorry if that wasn't the case and those original drawings didn't have a compound grind. In my head, I had this Connigan with these massive beveled grinds on it in my head, and they changed it. So, you know, maybe they make it so you can use it as a flipper. I think you could probably reverse flick it pretty easily. The detent is firm, but not unrealistic. I think you could do that. It's heavier, so keep that in mind. I actually think they knocked this thing out of the park. Okay, the mirror edge up on the top, the cutout, the hole in there, you can do all kinds of stuff, flipping that out. The multi-row bearings on an integral is just outstanding. Heavy, robust, the clip can change left to right. It is milled as well, and there's a little bit of a hiding thing under there in the clip for a little extra grab. I love that kind of stuff. I get the Anthony Marfione vibes in that it's a heavy, robust knife. It feels like a user, and I say that with the utmost respect for the designer and the manufacturing, but it gives me the vibe that it can really take a lot of beating. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. But then, you know, you get Connigan in there and you get these funky lines that, like, right away, I remember I was like, they're going to be asymmetric. That's what he does. And I wouldn't have thought it. Like, had I not known some of his prior designs, you'd spend half an hour with this knife, an hour with this knife, and then it would kind of click, oh wow, it's an asymmetric design. You wouldn't even notice. They just hide it so well, which is a sign of just a stunning design. I love that kind of stuff. You get, you know, the nice little touch on those Zircotai. I don't know what you'd call it. Are they calling those bolsters? But, you know, the little accents, the Zircotai, it just looks so nice. The only thing is I wish they made a hop-up kit and made that clip Zirc. That'd just be so cool. And it would really match nicely, I think. You know? And once again, this is exactly my jam. Stonewash with a little pizzazz to it. Well, that's the Ratax. And I'm telling you right now, I've got this particular one was part of a pre-order. I have more of these coming, and I can tell you with complete certainty I'll be throwing one in my case. because they're just so darn cool. And you know, CKF, they don't make a ton of these, but you know, maybe they might. They are Marfione, and he likes volume. He's not cheap, so maybe he'll make 500 of these. I don't know. I hope they do, because then I can grab one and I can score one of these guys, because they just look terrific. What are your guys' thoughts? Is this what you thought it would be? Is it knocked out of the park? Is it in the park? First base, second base, ground ball? What are you thinking? I think it's just done so well. And I love how the integral, it's like obviously all covered, but I love how they just left this little bit here that you can see through all the way down. It's a nice little touch. It's hiding in plain sight. There's all these little details. M398 as well. Didn't even touch on M398. That's a great steel. It's essentially S90V. We have the lanyard hole as well. Keep that in mind. And it's very nice and smooth, actually, all the way through there. I guess you could kind of argue the clip gets in the way of that lanyard hole ever so slightly. If it was a bothersome thing from a smooth lines perspective, I guess you could argue that's kind of in the way. But that doesn't really bug me at all. And then obviously the CKF logo on the back here on the heel, and then we have, oh, I already mentioned the Marfione logo. I'm curious what little Easter eggs on this I've missed. What little things have I completely missed? And I will say this too. That kind of pentagon shape that's in the blade there, that is a Connigan influence. If you've ever seen some of his work, he really likes those kinds of shapes. He's just a quirky designer. You know, you look at the bolt, or you look at the Zerkatai, you know, they're not four-sided. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like just quirky, right? That's the Connigan influence here. And that's what makes it so cool. I was kind of half expecting like a lanyard hole similar to that. That would have been a real interesting, I don't know how you do it, but it would have been cool. Whew. Beautiful knife. Absolute fantastic example of the Ratax. I'm curious to see the Damasteel variant whenever that comes out, and what they do with it. If they maybe change the clip, if they do... I don't see CKF doing a whole, you know, Zerkatai handle, but you never know. I think that would blow my mind if they did an integral Zerkatai. That might be one you just have to hold on to. What do you guys think? Anyway, I think I've spent a lot of time on this knife. I could sit here and flip it and chat blades with you guys for an hour a day. It's just so easy when you have such cool knives like this. This is just a gorgeous example of a nice new modern collaboration piece. Excited to see what they do. If they do other colors, different configurations, different blades, or if it's one and done, it wouldn't floor me. I feel like they're already hard enough to find. Even if they are, you know, serialized in the 400 range. I don't know where the 400 are, but we'll see where that goes. Anyway, guys, appreciate you stopping by. Check out bladezilla.ca for more. You're on the YouTube video right now. Throw a thumbs up. It helps the channel, helps the video find more like-minded individuals like you. Hopefully you're a knife nut. Hopefully you're a Shirogorov guy. If you are, you're in the right place. Appreciate you stopping by on the CKF. YouTube, like I said, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Facebook, pretty easily track down, send a DM, you know, chat blades. It's all part of the fun, which makes this passion project just so enjoyable. If there's anything else I missed, please leave it below. I wouldn't be floored if I missed something. I usually do, and it's usually very obvious. So, would love to see what I missed. Otherwise, have yourself a fantastic week. Enjoy it, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.